Welcome to your morning cars routine. This is your total body cars, and we are going to do them at 10 to 30%. This is not an high intensity activity. We just woke up. We are approaching this with ease, but we do want to make sure we are isolating the joints. So two things we do want to focus on: creating total body tension so that you can isolate the joints properly. Think about this as being sort of like your standing plank position. Feet are nice and spread on the floor, big toe, pinky toe, heel, flexing your quads and getting your pelvis tucked, squeezing your glutes, ribs down, and keeping your shoulders down away from your ears. This is generally your braced, standing, total body tension position. That's where we want to revisit for any movements where we are standing. Of course, there will be other positions as we go, but come back to this. And finally, making sure that you are allowing the air to have resistance. Imagine the air is honey or molasses that you are moving through. This is going to help you to really create that tension that will help you to really isolate the joint as you do each car. And finally, make sure that you are not pushing through pain. We call this closing angle pain with cars. If you are moving in a direction and you start to feel pain in the direction you are moving in, that is closing angle pain. We do not move through closing angle pain. If this happens, we want to either go the other direction and make sure that we do not go through it, or you can simply drop away from the pain, not pushing that range of motion to where you have pain-free range of motion, and continue the car from there. Let's dive in. First, we're gonna start with neck cars. The biggest compensation for this is shoulders. So really think about keeping your shoulders down away from your ears and make sure you're not twisting your torso with your neck. We're gonna start by taking an exhale, creating that total body tension that we're gonna wanna reset before every car, and then drop your chin towards your chest into flexion. Imagine there is a marker on the edge of your chin, and we're going to draw a big circle all around our neck and chest region. So we're gonna start drawing that circle to the right. Once we reach about our clavicle bone, we're gonna go into lateral flexion, keeping those shoulders down. Make sure that you're not reaching your shoulder to your ear, and then go into extension. Back to lateral flexion, keep this shoulder down, and back into flexion, and rotate back to center. This is a half rep. We're gonna go the other way to complete the rep. Flexion, chin to chest, so you reach the clavicle, lateral flexion, moving through that molasses, nice and slow, to lateral flexion, and back to flexion to the center. And that's your neck car. Next is thoracic. You might want to get a wider stance for this. Think about flexing your quads and really tucking your pelvis here, because we do not want any movement side to side in the hips or back and forward with the hips. We are just isolating our thoracic spine, which is your mid back. Give yourself a big hug and flex downwards just from the thoracic spine. We're gonna go into as much flexion as we have without moving from anywhere else. And then we're going to continue to the side in flexion. Imagine you are squeezing this front part of your abs to help you get as much flexion as you can. Moving to the side, think about crunching to the side of your obliques as you get into lateral flexion, and then into extension, keeping the glutes tight, the hips locked in space, and your chin is in neutral. Don't throw your head back. And then side to lateral flexion, crunching that side, back to flexion, and then all the way to the center. Keep your hips forward, don't stick them back. Now that's half rep, let's complete the other way. Flexion, lateral flexion, pushing into the floor, extension, back to lateral flexion, and forward into flexion to finish. Next is scap cars. We're gonna start with a nice straight arm. You are moving from your scapula, which has 4 positions: retraction and down, depressed, elevated and retracted, pronated and elevated, and pronated and depressed or down, right? So we're gonna make a big circle hitting all 4 of those positions. So retract the shoulder blade, keep your hand on your ribs to make sure that you're not moving from here. Big exhale, total body tension. And then we're going to keep our palm on our thigh so this arm stays straight. We don't want to start bending at that arm. So retraction, raise the shoulder all the way up, still in retraction, and elevated. Then we're going to keep the height as we come forward into protraction and elevated. Then we're going to depress the shoulder blade, staying in pronation, staying forward, and then back to retraction, keeping that shoulder down. Pause, freeze, back the other way. Keep that shoulder blade retracted, come forward to protraction, up and protracted, and then back into retraction and elevated, and then down to retraction and depressed. That's one full rep. Other side, hand on your ribs, arm is straight. Get that shoulder in retraction and elevate. Retracted and elevated. Elevated and protracted. Depressed and protracted. Back to retracted and depressed. Back around. Forward and protracted. Elevated, protracted. Elevated and retracted and depressed. Make sure you're making big circles, not just hitting those 4 points. As you practice this will get easier, I promise. Next is shoulder cars. So first you want to start by creating external rotation. Make sure that you have headlights on your shoulders that are facing forward. We do not want to be shifting your body. The biggest compensation that a lot of people do is twisting to the back to get your shoulder back. That is not moving from your shoulder joint, that is moving from your torso. Make sure that you keep your hands on your ribs and keep this, whatever working shoulder you're using, that headlight is facing forward so that you are actually moving from the joint of the shoulder and not your body. You'll see. So start with externally rotating. Show me the X on your bicep. And then we're going to start externally rotating as we raise the arm up. Keeping that pinky reaching towards the center of your body. And then when you keep your ribs down, make sure you're not arching, another big compensation. Once you reach the limit of where you can externally rotate overhead, start to internally rotate and start bringing that arm back, keeping this shoulder reaching forward so it stays stable. Bring the head all the way down. Stay internally rotating as you come back up. When you reach the limit, externally rotate and then continue forward all the way back to your starting position. Other side. Use your hand on your ribs to stabilize. Give you the side view. And we're going to start raising, externally rotating so that your pinky is reaching in towards you. And then all the way up. Keep externally rotating, then internally rotate to come down. Bringing your hand all the way down. Keep this arm straight. Make sure you are not bending at the elbow. Internally rotating until you cannot go up anymore. Then switch to external rotation. Pinky towards your midline to come back to the front. And that is your shoulder cars. Next is elbows. So we're going to start with bringing your elbow to your side. We want to make sure that we are not moving from the shoulder and we are only moving from the elbow. Now your elbow moves up and down and it also moves side to side. See how I'm moving from the elbow joint? So we are going to practice both of those in our elbow cars. So first we're going to start by turning our pinky out to the side. And then we're going to flex. Continue rotating as you flex in, trying to get your forearm to kiss your bicep. And then we're going to flip the other direction and bring our hand all the way down and flip again and bring it back up. That's one rep, and now we're going to rotate the other direction. So now we're going to flip the opposite direction, palm facing the floor, and then flip again, palm facing the ceiling to come up, and then switch. Palm facing the floor to extend, palm facing the ceiling to flex. And that is your elbow cars. Other side, elbow into your side. Keep a flat hand so you're not using your hands when you're really rotating from your elbow. We're gonna start by turning our palm to the ceiling, pinky up as far as you can towards the ceiling so you're rotating in this direction. And then we're going to go into flexion, forearm kissing your bicep. Keep rotating here, pinky coming inwards. And then we're going to flip palm facing the floor, rotating as much as you can, thumb to the floor as you extend. Flip, palm facing the ceiling, pinky moving in towards your midline as you raise up for your forearm to kiss your bicep, and then switch over. And now we're gonna switch directions. So bring it back up with the palm facing away, turn inward, pinky towards you, then lower with your palm open, flip again to bring it in, and flip your pinky towards you to bring it all the way back out, palm facing out. That's your elbow cars. Next, we're going to do your wrist cars. So I think wrists are probably the hardest car, in my opinion. So I recommend using support from the rest of your body. So you're gonna wanna move from your elbows. So keep your hands on your forearm, like you are grabbing your arm to avoid rotation, like this. You're gonna keep your elbow into your side and start with your palm out to me, and bring your fingers as far in as you can towards your elbow, like that. There we go. Now we're gonna start to move towards the side, but we don't wanna start rotating from the elbow, so just move towards the side, and then bring your palm towards you. Try to move from the palm, not the fingers. Then come to the side, and back to palm facing away. Think about bringing your palm backwards, the back of your hand reaching towards you. Then we're gonna turn inwards, palm towards me, guiding from the palm, not the fingers, to the side, and then back of my hand pushing towards me. That's one rep. Other side. Show me your palm. Try to push the top of your palm towards your body, and then we're going to reach to the side. Again, guiding with your palm. Keep your fingers tight and strong. So you're moving from the wrist, not your fingers. Palm towards you as much as you can, finding the end range. Open to the side, back to palm away. Now other direction. To the side, inside of your hand facing you, guiding with the palm. To the side, and then back to your starting position. Find that end range. That's your wrist cars. Hips are next. For hips, we do not want to use too much balance, so we're gonna use this stick right here. You can use a broomstick, a chair, a wall, whatever you have to balance. And then we're gonna go into our hip cars. So start with a nice sturdy standing leg, big toe, pinky toe, and heel are all grabbing each of the floor. Straighten your leg, ribs down, pelvis tucked. We want to avoid moving from our back. One of the most common compensations is moving from the back or just your body moving all around. So keep your body tight, nice and tight. And then we're gonna start with crossing our foot over our other standing leg ankle. And we're gonna bring our knee up as high as we can here. Then we're gonna start to externally rotate, which is gonna feel like your heel is reaching up to the ceiling. Keep that flexion height without your hip coming up. Keep this hip down and then start to move that hip to the side. Make sure this hip stays where it is. Do not move anything else with this leg. Now we're going to bring ourselves into pushing your leg behind you, but keep your hips coming forward. Remember your headlights. Imagine you're pushing something behind you with this foot, and now we're going to internally rotate this hip. Keep the hips forward as you do this, and then back to external rotation to bring your knee all the way up to the side, and then forward and down. Other side. Headlights on your hips, sturdy standing leg, cross that foot over that other standing leg, bring that knee up and externally rotate. From here, we're gonna keep moving to the side, keep this hip where it is, hands on your ribs, keep your body tight, and then we're going to bring this leg behind us. Imagine you're pushing something behind you with your foot and internally rotate. Push down into whatever it is that you're using to stabilize to help you create tension. Hips are coming forward and back to external rotation and coming up to the side, bringing that knee forward and back to your starting position. Next is going to be knees. We're gonna get on the floor for knees because that's just easier because it's hard to control our knees. So you have two options here. You can just grab the outside of your leg like this. We want to make sure that we can move from the knee and that we're not moving from the hip. See, that's from the hip. This is actually from the knee. I can rotate in and out as well as flex and extend. Another option, if this is still not isolated for you, is grab the arm that matches the leg underneath. So you're gonna get your bicep underneath and grab the opposite bicep with that hand. Put your hand on top and get your knee in a nice little headlock. This is a really good one that's really gonna keep you from moving from the hip. Now we're gonna start by rotating outwards, like this, out like that. And then we're going to go into extending as much as you can. You're not gonna be able to extend all the way, that's impossible. If you do, you're not gonna be able to stay rotated. So rotate, keep that rotation as you go into extension, and then rotate inwards and bring it down. Rotate out, extend, inwards and down. Now we're gonna switch directions. Keep rotating in, pushing this big toe inward to your midline as you extend, and then rotate out as you bring it back in, extend, out, and flex. Make sure you're actively rotating as you do each one. Other side, arm under, hand on your bicep, put your knee in a headlock. We're gonna start by rotating out and extend. Give you a side view from here. And turn in and flex. Out, extend, in, and flex. Other direction. Keep turning in as you extend, out, and flex. In, extend, out, and flex. That's your knee cars. Next, we're gonna do your kneecaps. So you should be able to move your kneecaps. So I'm gonna stand up so you can see this, and I'm also gonna lift my pants up. So you're going to wiggle your kneecaps in all directions, side to side, up and down. Make sure your foot is relaxed so you can actually move. Diagonal and diagonal. So you should have mobile kneecaps. They should be able to move around. Your patella should be able to move around. And now let's go other side. Up and down. Let me get my leg relaxed. Just a few times each, side to side. Diagonal and diagonal. Now let's do ankles. Ankles, I would also recommend sitting down so you can stabilize your ankles, get into that headlock position again, except this time you want to put your hand over your shin so that you're not moving from your knee. And we're going to start by going into a dorsiflex position with your toes towards your body, towards your shin or your knees. And then we're going to rotate inwards and then point your toe. All my ballerinas out there feel very at home. And then rotate to the side, but make sure you're not rotating here. You'll feel it in your hand. And then back to dorsiflexion. Again, to the side, other direction. Keep this in the ankle joint. And that's one round. Other side, grab under, hand over your shin. Start in dorsiflexion, turn outwards. Isolating only from that ankle. Don't start rotating from your hip or your knee. And all the way back around. Again, you're just drawing as big of a circle as you can, keeping the movement in that ankle. Last but not least, we got toes. So you're gonna start by spreading your feet, take your socks off, take your shoes off, and first we're going to lift our toe like this. All the way up and hold it. See how high you can get it? And bring it back down. Push your big toe down and now lift just your little toes as high as you can and down. Now we're gonna switch directions. All the little toes, bring it down, and the big toe, bring it down. And just move through your toes because that feels good. And that's it. You did your cars.